campaign. And he will be sharing a why do we celebrate and a thank you.
I'm glad everybody could make it here. Can you hear me? Want to make sure to swallow the mic. I'm not used to having short speeches when I worked. I usually did several-hour presentations, so I'll try not to do that again. So I'd like to welcome everybody to our Faith Forward Celebration Dinner. As a co-chair with Denise Hassenstadt of the Faith Forward Executive Team, I want to thank all of the teams that have actively been working for the successful Faith Forward campaign. These include the executive team, the communications team, arrangements team, advanced gifts, spiritual life, messengers, congregational events, follow-up, the church staff, and the church council. Now, why are we here? Why should we be grateful? Well, Faith Forward is getting off to a good start because of the dedication and commitment of a great number of our members. God enables GA to serve as a gateway of faith to our city, neighborhood, and each other, and to give thanks to God. And God gives us gifts. And we share those gifts with each other, and that helps us be grateful. So thanks to everyone in attendance this evening for your efforts to bring the Faith Forward campaign to a positive conclusion. And I'd like to remind people, as a history buff, I would also like to recognize this is the 100th anniversary today of the signing of the armistice by the Allies in Germany and ending combat in World War I. It wasn't a treaty, it was just an agreement that the sides had made. They were exhausted, it was time to stop fighting. They didn't sign a treaty for about 5 years. But in 1918, on November 11th, my dad and Jan's grandfather, and I'm sure many of your forefathers, were soldiers in World War I. Armistice Day became Veterans Day by an act of Congress in 1954, changing its purpose and scope to honor all people who had served in our armed forces and made sacrifice. And we remember that it's for all soldiers and sailors, the ones that died and the ones that are still alive. And when my dad told the story, he was in France, recovering from being gassed when he was building a bridge. And he said when it got to 11 o'clock on the morning, they were told this was going to be the end of the war. And they all stayed down in their foxholes and trenches and behind the hills, and the artillery stopped and the guns stopped, and they waited, and it was quiet. And after a few minutes, some of the braver ones poked their heads over the top of the lines, and they weren't shot at. And he said pretty soon they were all standing up. And we've seen that in the Christmas truce that happened in 1914, where the soldiers got together. But here in 1918, depending on the units that were involved, they got up for good and crept out between the lines and met the Germans. And my dad's unit was a Wisconsin National Guard unit in the 32nd Division, and a lot of the men in Wisconsin at that time spoke German. So they started visiting with the people that had just been their enemies. And there was no more fighting. And they were hoping that it was going to be the end of that battle. We know it and less than 30 years later, they were back at it again. But we give thanks for the freedom that we have. And we give thanks for the ability to be in a place like this with friends, honoring God, and realizing what gifts we have been given. The gift of freedom to worship God, and the privilege we have to be the hands and feet of Christ, serving others in our community. We're also thankful for our ministry to move faith forward. We celebrate with joy the work that has been accomplished in the past and the work we can do together as GA's ministry grows in the future. All of us are needed, and we can do more together than any of us could do alone. So thanks to all of you for this partnership in Faith Forward, and be sure to keep praying, because that's an important part of our success, that we can actually say that God is with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Len. At this time, we invite forward Denise Hassestaff. As Len said, Denise serves as his co-chair for the executive team for stewardship. Denise is also our council president this year.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Len, for that story. That was great. What a wonderful evening as we celebrate with gratitude our community of faith that is Gustavus Adolphus Lutheran Church. First off, I would like to thank the many people who are working so diligently and faithfully on this capital campaign. You all are truly amazing and do great work. Tonight we are gathered together in fellowship. This is a time, as mentioned before, to celebrate our good work as a congregation, to recognize how we have cared for others, the invitation we've extended to people and organizations alike, to find peace, hope, and friendship here at Gustavus, as well as strengthen our relationship with God. At the same time, we're also looking ahead at GA's future together, to wonder and to collectively ask ourselves how we can support what comes next for GA. How can we continue to live our mission of being a gateway of faith with our city, neighborhood, and each other? God is calling us to share our skills and resources as He asks, knowing they will be used to transform lives through Jesus Christ. Are we ready to accept this call to where God is leading us? Are we ready to respond in faith, to go where God wants us to go? The answer is yes, with our faith. This building is central to the vision and mission of GA, and we are grateful for this gift because it is a physical reminder for how we are all called to be Christians. The ministries that happen in this building are many, and they make a difference in people's lives. Through the Faith Forward campaign, we will secure the resources to cover our operational expenses, to pay our principal mortgage balance, allowing us to retain and maintain our church building as a critical part of our ministry. It is very possible to eliminate our principal mortgage balance while preparing for additional facility upgrades and shifting our collective focus and resources from infrastructure to more direct ministry and mission. What an exciting thing to consider. My mind floods with memories that have shaped what GA means to me. 19 years ago, my husband and I were newlyweds visiting churches on the east side, looking to find a home church. The people of GA welcomed us, just as we continue to welcome visitors today. GA is where we've met many friends, including our dear friends Pam and Mike Siebert, and have relished watching their family grow over the years. This is a place where we baptized our 3-month-old son, Adam, during a joint worship service with the African congregation when they worshiped here before being able to purchase their own building. GA offered them a place to worship, a place to build a congregation, and a place to share the Word of God. How lucky are we to have been able to help spread God's Word in this way? My life was transformed when, at 3.5 years old, our son Adam started having uncontrollable seizures. His health declined quickly. He experienced developmental delays and lost his ability to speak and understand what was being said to him. During that time, GA was my place of respite, my sanctuary where I could find comfort. This congregation wrapped its arms around me and my family, grieved with us, brought meals to our home, visited us during many hospital stays, and prayed for us. I don't know how we would have made it through without leaning on the people of GA. And now, years later, as my son celebrates being seizure-free for more than 5 years, I give thanks to God. I give thanks to God for this miracle, and I truly believe it is a miracle. This miracle of healing, and for the support of the people of GA for being there through what have been the most difficult moments of my life. Now, I'm looking ahead to what's next for GA, to think about and pray over our future and what's possible. I invite you to do the same. Of course, you have your own stories and experiences for how this place has changed you and what the people here mean to you. Now it's time to ask yourself, how will you support GA's mission? What do you want GA to mean to you in the future? And what do you want GA to mean to future generations who walk through our doors? Because of GA, we're all forever connected to this building and to each other. As a gateway of faith, we charge faith forward to do new things through God as we look ahead in new directions and at new opportunities. Let's join together to envision a future and see what's possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Next, we hear from John Haller, who is a member of our congregation, and how Gustavus has been a part of his faith life. John.
Good evening. Good evening. So first, I have to tell you, it may look like I got a little nose ring here on my nose, but what had happened is I was sitting on the kitchen floor yesterday morning with my 4-month-old puppy named Charlie, and Charlie just got a little piece of my nose. So if you see me later on, actually, it'd be kind of a cool fashion statement. Figured I would call that one out right away. So, anyway, my name's John Haller. I've been a member of GA Church now for about 40 years, on and off. I received my first communion here. I was confirmed here, and now I attend church with my wife, Anne Marie, and our 2 children. We frequently sit together with my mom, Audrey Haller, at the 9 o'clock service. I wanted to take some time today to describe how GA has made a difference in my life, particularly in those exact moments when I needed it most. So November 8th, 2012, that's 6 years ago last Thursday, was a day of great anticipation for me and my wife, Anne Marie, along with our respective families. At the time, we had 1 son, Emmett, and our family of 3 was about to get considerably larger. We were expecting twin girls, and that C-section was scheduled for that day. Anne Marie had just hit her 8th month of her pregnancy, which is considered full term for twin pregnancies. It was a tough pregnancy for Anne Marie. She had a lot of struggles, and she did everything right. And by all accounts, we had 2 healthy baby girls that were ready to be born. All the preparations had been made. We had several matching outfits ready for our twin girls. We had 2 cribs purchased and assembled. We had 2 car seats purchased and installed in our minivan, speaking of which, we bought a minivan, especially for this event, to allow for 3 car seats to fit comfortably. We felt as ready as we ever could have been, and we really felt in control. But life had other plans for us. In the operating room, our firstborn daughter was Clara. The doctor lifted her out of Anne-Marie's body, and I knew immediately that something was wrong. Clara was pale, and more importantly, she was quiet. There was no crying, just nothing. Doctors and the medical staff immediately rushed into the operating room to try to revive my little girl, but Clara was unexpectedly stillborn. Everything was just kind of a fog in that moment, as you can probably imagine. About 2 minutes later, and it could have been, for all I know, 20 minutes, but I was told it was 2 minutes later, our second daughter was born with quite the exact opposite demeanor. Linnea was pink, and she let out this vigorous cry, saying hello to the world. We later found out that Clara had likely died in utero about 48 hours prior to the scheduled C-section. Our family of 5 was quickly reduced to a family of 4 on earth and 1 in heaven. What was supposed to be a day of absolute joy turned into the ultimate bittersweet experience, celebrating both the birth of my beautiful girl Linnea and mourning the loss of my precious daughter Clara. The staff at St. John's asked if they could call someone for me, and I immediately thought of GA. They were able to get a hold of Pastor Bonnie, who was at a conference that day. Pastor Bonnie left the conference immediately. We spoke briefly by phone, and in true Pastor Bonnie fashion, she took charge, which was exactly what we needed and what I needed at that time. She drove to my mom's house so that she could be physically present when she shared the news with my mom. Pastor Bonnie and my mom then picked up Emmett from daycare and met us at the hospital. I can't remember now any of the exact words that Pastor Bonnie actually mentioned to me or to Anne-Marie, but it doesn't really matter. You know, what I do remember was her just being present in that hospital room with my family, holding both Linnea, holding Clara, and just crying with us. She didn't pretend to have any answers. She didn't have any answers. I wasn't really looking for any answers. She was just present with us. And it wasn't just Pastor Bonnie that supported us at that time. Later at the memorial service for Clara, Sherry Norquist, she agreed to sing, and she sang the most beautiful song I've ever heard for us at that time. Jerry Brocky was there playing piano. After the service, there was a team of volunteers from GA who were there to help out for lunch. And in the coming weeks and months, people would approach us and say hello, tell us that they were thinking of us. GA was truly a safety net that we were able to rely on. We felt supported, and it made a world of difference. 2 years earlier, in 2010, I had lost my dad, Jim Haller. Some of you may remember him. My mom, in turn, lost her husband and her best friend. He had fought cancer for several years and succumbed to his illness just a few days after Christmas in 2010. And he continues to be missed greatly. Yet again, at that time, we leaned on GA as our safety nets during what was a much harder experience than I had anticipated. Yet again, Pastor Bonnie and team was an invaluable resource. Bonnie visited my dad throughout his painful journey and was there to have given his last communion the day that he passed away. She took a time away from her family over the holidays to help us plan the funeral for my dad, which took place on New Year's Day. Once again, the people of GA were loving, kind, and compassionate. Once again, they served as a sort of safety net for us. But I don't want this story to be only about the loss of my daughter, Clara, or my dad, for that matter. I recognize, I look out on this room, that while the details of my specific story might be unique, I know that we all have experienced that kind of loss. We've all experienced loss in our lives. I think that is probably what brings us together as humans, just the one thing that we have in common. I want my story to be instead about the power of a group of people who are joined together in faith. Faith in God, faith in each other. We're a group of people who may have disagreements politically. We might come from different backgrounds, from different neighborhoods. We might be of different ethnicities, ages, sexual orientation, whatever. But we're united in the belief that there is power in being a welcoming community, to support and to pray for each other in times of need and support each other in our respective faith journeys. GA is not just a story about being a safety net for its members during times of loss. I think it really is a story of celebrations as well. We read in the newspaper about how churches are on the decline. There was another article this morning in the Star Tribune to that effect, how churches are going bankrupt. In my estimate, that's not us. I think we are an incredibly resilient congregation, and I think we're just getting started. And we have a new partnership with Merrick. We have a new choir loft, new partnerships with other community groups that we're exploring. We have new members. We always have new classes and new learning opportunities and new opportunities to get involved. What I really want this story to be about is how we can give back to the community, however we can. Whether it's a gift of money, whether it's giving our talents, our time, or something else altogether. And that's what tonight is about. How can we ensure that GA's future as a church is secure for generations to come? So thanks for listening, and may we all be able to listen to God's call for our church.
At this time, I'd like to invite Riley Himmer, one of the youth from Gustavus, to come forward, please.
Hello, my name is Riley Himmer. I'm a freshman at North St. Paul High School, and I've gone to Gustavus Adolphus my entire life. I absolutely love it here. It's like one of my favorite places. And I know that I'm not the only person who absolutely loves it here. And so I decided that I wanted to make a video kind of showcasing some of the love that everyone has for this place. And we didn't get everyone, obviously, because that'd be really difficult. But we got as many people as we could to share some of their favorite memories and their favorite parts of the church and where they see God in the church, and put it all together into a video, just showing the love that people have for this church. So we're going to show that now, so enjoy.
Come on. This all worked in rehearsal. Well, let's go back and fire it up again. Yeah, we'll try load it up again. See if we can refresh this.
Such a toxic. Riley, a great word of thanks for taking the time to put this together. But this was your idea entirely, so thank you for dreaming about a great gift to all of us tonight. And I'm sure Rob will make sure that's posted on Facebook and other places as well next week. And where's Mr. Haller? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Boy, oh boy, what a gift your words were tonight. For all of us to hear how this church has been a gift to you. But I've showed up on the backside of it, and I can speak to how you've been a gift to me and to each of us in this room. So thank you for your involvement. And Denise and Len, a great word of thanks for your word, the stories you've shared, and the commitment that you have put forth to this work. I am grateful. Folks, this is why it matters. This is why this place matters. Because I know, I won't do it because you'll hate me, but we all have a story to tell. Because the unfortunate part of the lives we live is there are difficult things that happen to us. There is no community that is better than this. That we can show up and our youngest and our oldest can be together. That we can kneel around boxes shaped in the cross and pray together. We can show up in times when life is hard and we have brothers and sisters to lean on. And we can show up in those times where things are going pretty well and now we give a shoulder, we offer a hand, we make a meal, we lend a listening ear. I'm not going to buy the research and the numbers to say the church is dying because Gustavus Adolphus Lutheran Church is alive and doing well.
Yeah.
To say it is a privilege and honor to be your pastor is an understatement. It is a gift for me that I get to come here and be with you, next with you, working with you, praying with you, and dreaming with you. You have some of the most remarkable people that make up this staff, and my gratitude for those of you that I get to call co-workers, there aren't words for it. Thank you for your commitment to this place. In 1957, Gustavus Adolphus made it was a couple years before that, but in 1957, this church building opened up. This was the second site for the church. And as we were getting our capital campaign going, Faith Forward, somebody, if it was you, you can remind me, but somebody dropped off the capital campaign pamphlet from 1957. Here it is. 1957, Gustavus Adolphus Lutheran Church, our church, forward in faith. Now we saw this afterwards when we made the decision to call this Faith Forward. 61 years ago, folks made a financial commitment to make sure that Gustavus was going to be alive and vibrant on the east side of St. Paul. I mean, it overwhelms my heart to think of the stories you could tell me because some of you were around then. This church has been your church for that long. Some of us showed up just a couple years ago, and it's our church now. I don't think 61 years ago they would have thought that we as a congregation would have not one but two partner congregations in Tanzania, and that we would generate enough resources so 10 high school students could go to high school and then on to college in Tanzania. I don't think 61 years ago they had the dream that on a weekly basis, not only would we give of our time, but our financial resources so that the children of our elementary school would have food over the weekend because they are experiencing food insecurity. I don't think they ever could have imagined 61 years ago that for 1 week in the summer, this room would be filled with over 80 people representing our community for a week of Vacation Bible School. I mean, they didn't even know Sherry and her capacity and leadership to generate this great program. 61 years ago, they wouldn't have known that we were going to have an opportunity to partner with Merit Community Service, with 3 community orchestras, 2 churches who are just starting up, and the Spirit is working in them, and they need a place to meet. Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, the Sons of Norway, and the Swedish Lodge. They never could have envisioned that this place was going to be a community center for the people of the east side of St. Paul, but that's what it is. That's what we have become. I am so grateful for their faith 61 years ago to bring us to the place we are today. I'm so incredibly thankful for your generosity over the last 18 years of the capital campaign to generate the resources to remodel the gathering space and the bathrooms that are accessible for all of us. I'm glad you're here tonight so you can see that we have a group of Hmong men that play soccer a few nights a week, and that the Pentecostal church is worshiping in the chapel. Every single night, this building is used. And it wouldn't be used if it wasn't for your generosity and commitment. And so that here we can stand 61 years later and to give God thanks and praise for a building that is our church, for the people that is the church, in a place where this community can come and gather in. But we know that God isn't done working. We know this isn't the end of GA's story. As John said, I think we are just beginning. We are at a spot where we have a dream and a vision where in 3 years, by the end of 2021, our mortgage, which is as of January 1, $578,000. People have told me, dream on, John, that isn't going to happen. I'm not going to dream, I'm going to pray because I believe it can happen. Because we can then position ourselves to dream and ask and begin to invest in mission and ministry that's going to allow us to even have a greater impact on the community we're having already. We move faith forward. We don't sit still. We don't say that was enough. Thank you, God. We dig deep and we dream big dreams because we know that God is not done. We are alive and we are ready to go forward. This campaign, Faith Forward, is a 3-year capital campaign with the number 1 goal of eliminating that mortgage. We have been working hard over the past few months in preparation and anticipation for tonight and for next Sunday, where you will be invited to bring a pledge and make a commitment to that. As you reflect a little bit on that and as you wonder what that might look like, I have some incredibly exciting news to share with you tonight. Part of our work leading up to tonight was to meet with a few folks to create a springboard for our campaign to raise $578,000 over the next 3 years. I am thrilled to tell you that we have already received pledges today. Rick, hit it, buddy. $384,480. Yes. This isn't about us. This is about God being faithful through us and us making a commitment so that we can continue to be a vital church in this community. It's the excitement, it's the programs, it's knowing how well this gets used, why Jenny and I and our family have made a commitment to this campaign, because it is that important. I know this is a lofty goal, but I get too excited. I get too excited to be at a point where that mortgage is done. We can be done talking about capital campaigns, and we can talk about ministry and impact and the many ways that we are making a difference in this community. In order for us to get there, it's going to take each and every one of us. It may take your pledge of $3 or your pledge of $578,000. I will also accept that as well. I mean, we'd be done. We could just have a big celebration next Sunday. So if you wanted to write that check, let's talk tonight. I mean, I'll take you out for dinner or whatever. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. It takes your $3, it takes your $300, it takes your $3,000, it takes your $30,000. Every gift that you give is going to get us to that spot. So I invite you to join us this week to continue to pray for this congregation. Continue to ask God to use us in ways that are well beyond our imagination. I invite you to pray that we can have a vision that brings us to a spot where this debt is eliminated. We can be done talking about this capital campaign, and we can start to dream a dream where lives continue to be transformed. I invite you to think about what it means to be generous. What it means to make a commitment with your time, your talents, and your financial resources to get us to that spot. So that we as a congregation, vital and alive and doing remarkable things on the east side, can begin to make plans for the next 5, 10, 15, and 130 years from now. Because God is not done at work. Join us Thursday night, 7 o'clock. We're going to have a concert of prayer vigil here in the sanctuary. Join us for that service. The prayer vigil will be running for 24 hours Thursday into Friday. Please take some time to pray. We recognize that this is a leap of faith. But in order to go forward in faith, in order to be faith-forward people, we have to take that step. Tonight just allows us to have a vision of why this place matters, the difference this church is making, and why we keep showing up week after week after week. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for the gifts you've already given, and thank you for your willingness to be a partner in ours in this faith-forward journey. May we go forward in boldness that shows the world we're serious. May our actions and our words reflect the love of Christ that has transformed us and made us in who we are. And may we find those moments to share a smile, to brighten one's day, to be the face of Christ in the world.
Amen.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord's face shine upon you with grace and mercy. May the Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. 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 Two last announcements. You have a beautiful name tag which Rob worked hard on there. Beautiful brother. Thank you for your time with that. If you can drop those name tags in the basket, because we are all about reuse, recycle, reuse. Drop them in that. I'd invite all of you to stand. The choir is going to make their way up towards the piano. We're going to join our voices together. Again, thank you for being here and joining us for a wonderful celebration.